Got the operations meeting of October 24th. We'll start. Joanne, please roll the film.
We're good.
We'll start off with Joanne taking roll call, please.
All right. Maureen Niven here. Ruth Dries.
Here.
David Corness.
Here.
I don't see John Gray. He's not here. Richard Handelson.
No.
Not here. John Hassan. Not here. Terry Jensen. I don't see him. Oh. Bobby Levin
I did, yes, thank you.
and Joyce Reese.
Yes. Dominic Granaccio.
He's out.
And Stuart Richland. Stuart Richland is present. Fausto Fabro.
Here.
Patricia Caputo.
Here.
David Boaz.
Yes.
And I'm here. Here's Richard.
Richard just came in.
Came in.
You know what?
We have a quorum.
So somebody, ask someone to share and give it.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Please be seated. Maureen, sit down, please. This meeting is going to be short today. Please review the minutes as presented, and I'm going to ask, it seems like we have a bunch of guests here today. Do you have a spokesperson so we know why you're here? Because you're not on the agenda, so I'm asking what is the purpose of your visit?
No one understand what's going to be changing.
We need the papers back, they're only for...
Okay.
No, just some.
I'm asking one more time, do you have a spokesperson and why are you attending this meeting? Because you're not on the agenda, I'm giving you an opportunity to
We
speak
didn't know
up.
we had to be on the agenda. We just knew that you was having a meeting because it was in the UCO paper.
Okay,
The issue that we came about because we go to the gym
right,
and all summer long our pool and the bathroom been out.
right.
So now we want to know when we'll be back, when we'll be able to go back to the pool.
Eva, would you like to answer that?
It's been closed since July.
Judge-
Yes, it has, and we're not finished yet.
Why?
Locker rooms are making good progress.
Why?
We have the women's shower, women's sauna, which required additional electrical, and until all the electrical is what it needs to be, we cannot pass an inspection. So that slows everything down. So that is what we're up against. We have this women's sauna caught fire.
Yeah.
All right, so, and then it was decided that rather than putting in the same heating element, we were gonna go with infrared. Well, infrared requires, there's electrical in the ceiling because you've got fixtures in the ceiling giving you the heat. So the old sauna did not have any electrical up in the ceiling, so all of that needed to be redone. All right, so, and before we can pass our electrical inspection, that means we can't put in the ceilings in the locker room. So we don't have ceilings yet because we have to pass the electrical inspection. So the sauna has slowed us down. Locker room, the tiles are in, partitions are in, everything's in, but we're just waiting to pass the electrical. We can put the ceilings in. We'll keep the women's sauna closed and we can open up everything else. So Dan, do you have an approximate date for us?
I think.
We're hoping by November before Thanksgiving. We're
Because
hoping.
we can't,
You know what?
unfortunately, inspections, depending on and we're getting into the holidays, but we're trying to get the sauna inspected. As soon as the sauna is inspected, I could give you more, better dateline for when it's going to
I
open
just
up.
want to say this. When they closed the pool, have the pool back, but we wouldn't have the bathrooms back. So that never happened. And if I can recall, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. Last year, the same thing happened, but when the season started, things open up.
Yeah.
I just feel some kind of way. Are we being treated different because we're full-time or what?
Well, what I'm gonna say to that is, number one,
No.
we only have portalets out there, so to
We don't want
so there's portalets out there to deal with the people using the gym and the aerobics, right? But that's a very small group of people who come and go very quickly. We've got people who will be at the pool for hours on end. They could be there all day. Those 2 portalets aren't going to accommodate everybody, all right? So we've kept the pool areas closed. The only area I was looking to get open was the resistance pool, because you have other pools to choose from. There's only one
And
resistance
that's the
pool.
one I go to.
Right, okay.
Anybody else have something to say?
And as far as doing work in the summer versus the season,
Yes.
it's not that you all aren't any, or that you are all less special or important than anybody else in the village, but in the summer, we have probably 60% of our village that empties out.
Okay.
Well,
As
that's nothing
snowbirds?
to do with
Part
how
of the
many.
40%.
But what it means is that it's less foot traffic. So we always do this kind of work in the summer because we're displacing less people, but that doesn't make you less important. I just want you to know that.
Anyone else?
So, yes, ma'am, I'm going to take one more question, and then from now on, if you want to go on the agenda, you must contact Eva so that we can put you on the agenda. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I have a question to your question. You asked why are we here?
Yes, ma'am,
We are residents. Are we invited here?
absolutely, but you want, evidently, you're
But
here
you're not
because you have
treating
a
us
problem, and I want to be able to address it. WPRF wants to be able to address it, and if we have a heads up of what your questions are going to be, we might be able to answer it better or faster, instead of saying you will see you next month. That's all.
Oh, the question.
I have a question. Okay. People that showed up here and the people here, they didn't really know what the format was
Right.
to come to this meeting to address evil. We've seen all this stuff that we're here, and we apologize if we're not trying to boho
I understand.
this meeting, people. We're not trying to do
No.
that. But
But
we the people
Yes,
I understand.
of Central Village
yes,
have questions, and we need answers to our questions.
absolutely.
And we apologize, we're not trying to go
And
home
I've-
to beat it, but
I've
we
already-
need to know.
Right, I've already made a note to myself, because you know what, we've never set up a protocol for people who want to come and that they need to be on the agenda. So I want to run a little blurb in the Reporter from month to month, that if as a group or anybody wants to come, that you just contact me to let me know what the topic of discussion is, which gives you the opportunity to get up and speak. This way, we're going to get the word out there that this is the format in which you can come and then be heard at the meeting. So I've already made a note to myself to make sure it gets into the next Reporter. Ruth? I will do that, okay. Perfect, okay.
All right.
Perfect, thank you.
We've got to go back onto the agenda. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Are there any committee members, any corrections to the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. David made a motion, seconded by Joyce Reese. David made the motion. I didn't see him. Okay, Miss Monica, you're up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon, we're looking at your statement of operations for WPRF for the 10 months ended August 31st, 2023. For the month of August, our income was $480,000. The total expenses for the month, $490,000, so we have a loss for the month of $11,000. For the 10 months, our total revenue is $6,084,000. Total expenses for that period, $6,097,000. So we have a year-to-date loss of $12,892. For this period, we had actually budgeted a loss of $398,000. So year-to-date, we have a positive variance of $385,000. The bottom of this report has your social activity summary. Your theater income for the month of August was $3,700. Between your theater, dances, and movies, we spent $6,800, so we have a loss of $3,100. Year-to-date for our theater and dance income, we have $243,000. We spent for your theater, dances, and movies $305,000, so we have a loss of $61,000. We had budgeted a loss of $127,000, so there we have a positive variance on your social activities of $66,000. Any questions? Okay. The next report is your cash balance summary. For the end of August, our total operating funds amounted to $854,000. Our windstorm deductible and infrastructure and contingency improvement reserve funds totaled $591,000, so our total available cash is $1,450,000. Questions?
That's a little bit different than the handout. Probably yours is the update?
She rounds off the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next report is your social activity summaries, and this is for the month of September. There were 886 theater tickets sold to your theater performances during the month. We collected $4,435. Once we remove the audience view cost and the sales tax, our net sales are $3,609. We spent $4,450 for the performers, so we have a loss of $841. For your Friday night dances, there were 543 people attending the dances. We paid $1,840 collectively for your DJs. And for your movies during the month, there were 483 people that attended the movies, for which we paid $1,284. All that said and done, for the month of September, between your theater, dances, and movies, we have a loss of $3,965. The next report is revenue collected from guests. This is also through the month of September. Total box office sales for the month of September were $48,000 and change. Total tickets sold were 4,192 tickets. Of that, 66 of the tickets sold during September were sold to guests. Year-to-date through September, of the 22,630 tickets sold, 4,499 were sold to guests, which generated $13,497 in guest revenue. We collected or sold guest passes in the ID office year-to-date totaling $35,590. We sold guest passes in the ID office totaling $10,974. So year-to-date, total fees collected from guests collectively sold, however they were sold, $60,051. The last financial report is your Estoppel income report. This is also through August. During the month of August, there were 34 units sold in this community compared to the same month in the prior year where there were 46 units sold. Year-to-date, there's been 600 units sold. The same period in the prior year, 833. So it's a decrease of 233 units this year over the same period in the prior year, or a decrease of 28%. Year-to-date, those Estoppel fees have totaled $127,000. Last year, the same period, we collected $181,000. So we're down almost just shy of $54,000, or 30% this year. Any questions on the reports?
How are the other two Century Villages
The same, it's the same, in all three of the Century Villages we manage, and it's primarily attributable to a lack of inventory. But the sales are down considerably in all three communities over, as compared to last year and certainly the year before that, when the real estate market started going so crazy. One other thing I wanted to report to you on Abby's behalf. She sent me a report this morning. Wanted to let you know that your advanced theater season ticket sales have been going very well this year. This year, as of this morning, we've sold 5,624 tickets totaling $71,686. The exact same period in the prior year, 4,674 tickets. We collected $53,970, so it's actually a 33% increase in theater revenue over the prior year for advanced theater ticket sales. Yes, Ruth?
That should be insert into the papers of the brochure.
Actually, I don't know, I didn't speak to her.
I'll read it.
Yeah,
Just wondering whether.
That number was before the insert came out.
this is since the theater tickets, since advanced season tickets began through this morning. I know your paper came out last week.
It came out the last Saturday of September.
Okay, so,
And the insert went into the October issue.
right, the one that just,
They haven't since the end of September.
Well, Abby called me before the paper ever came out and let me know that sales were up about 30%.
Okay.
so maybe that bumped it up an extra 3% then, after the paper came out. I don't know, but it was good to have it in there, it gets to more people that way.
That's a plus.
Exactly. One other thing, one real quick, matter to cover. We did conclude the budget at our last monthly meeting, and we know what the increase and the coupon is gonna be, and I wanna know from the committee if you want a letter of explanation for the increase to go along with the coupon mailing this year. We generally do include a letter of explanation.
That's fine.
Okay,
Send a letter to explain.
all right, we will do that. I know one of the questions that was open when we left the meeting last month, you wanted to know if the janitorial company would consider including the cost of certain supplies that we pay outside of the contract, if they would agree to include it in their contract price, and they did agree to do so. So we were able to lower the budget for those supplies that we had been buying outside the contract. So that was a good thing. Yes, Richard?
How much is the WPRF increase going to be?
11.
The operating increase is $8.99. And the contractual amended Millennium Agreement increase is $2.12. So the total increase will be $11.11 per unit per month.
It has gotten back to me that the word has been going around that the increase to the WPRF coupon was going to be $100. So 100% incorrect, as Monica says, total $11.11. If you feel lucky, go play your numbers, right?
Yep. You done?
That's it for me.
Okay, just to give you an update, most of you know Donald is in the hospital. He is still, he's gonna be there for a while. He's gonna be here a while. So if there's any contact, anything that you need, please get a hold of me while I'm still standing. I'll try to help out as much as I can. Okay?
I know he was.
Yeah, well, they took him by ambulance on Saturday, so. And so far, he's been in the operating room twice. So.
Sorry to hear that.
No, just direct everything to me. I told Seacrest the same thing, but if you have any questions. Okay, women's sauna, Dan, you're up.
Good afternoon. For some of you, I'm Daniel Cruz, the Regional Facilities Manager, that basically is in charge of those construction projects, and Eva takes the heat. But unfortunately, when we make changes like this and electrical changes, and you have to put in revisions. Revisions going back to the county for inspections takes time. And we're in a era of the last 2 years that I've been doing this now for 30-something years. It's been the worst that I've ever seen in time of processing, how they go about it, man shortage, labor problems that I've been having, and increases of pricing in the industry is just enormous, more than you could ever imagine in the commercial atmosphere. And I know that you want this thing up and running, but I can guarantee you when it is all up and running, it's going to be a beautiful facility out there. But we do still have a little bit of a situation with not so much with the construction at Hastings, but now the men's shower. And I did take some of the board members there to show them the situation. You have a 60-year-old building, which we had a leak underneath there, which basically put a sinkhole almost underneath there, about 5 foot by 7 foot wide. And if we didn't open up the concrete, we'd never known that leak was going on underneath there. Okay, so a good thing that we actually caught it before anything major happened to the structure. But of course, again, a delay of what it's going to cost to repair that. Okay.
Dan, I forgot to ask you, are we very near the indoor pool with that? Are we far enough away that it wouldn't affect it?
We're far enough away. We're actually by the pump room on that side of the outdoor pool.
Okay.
Okay. So it was deep enough where I actually could see the footer underneath there, washed out a good 4 to 5 feet down. And so we are having to cut out the concrete in the shower area. And doing that, okay, yeah, again, have a 60-year-old building which has black iron, which is completely, we cambered it, it's completely corroded, completely collapsed inside there. That has to be replaced, okay? So we're working on that to get that pricing together, getting to see what the tile and the repairs would go. We're taking the advice of an engineer, but I don't want to bring an engineer yet there until we see what the advice would be because of the washout underneath there, okay? Just as a precaution, I just want to make sure that the compaction and everything that we do is proper.
Did everybody understand what Dan said?
Is that here?
That's here and this one here, yes.
Right, it's right here.
You know, I have the video, I will send it to you.
Oh, yeah.
I could walk here and try to show you what this is about. It's really stunning, it's jaw-dropping what we're looking at.
I could fit with 2 other people underneath there without a problem. That's how much it. And if it wasn't for us opening it up, we would never notice. And it was a hot water line. Remember in the old days, they ran under everything was with a metal pipe and cast iron, and it basically cracked underneath there, and it was just washing away the dirt. You know, not enough for us to notice for pressure-wise, but enough for it looked like it was happening for many years, because that's just too big of a hole to just happen that quickly. But anyhow, we're working on that and moving forward with this. The other thing I want to good news is that we're closing up this air conditioning contract. We basically have one payment left, and I'm just getting out the closeout papers and the final from the county, okay, to close everything out. Our engineers basically approved everything, so we're at the process of, I think we just have one payment left, right?
We've got one payment that'll be going out next week for $88,000, and then there's $14,000 and change remaining on the contract.
And that one will be just for the close, the final that we will get from the CO, and then the closeout paperwork that we would need for all the equipment. Any questions?
Monica, am I correct in saying that we took money from wind mitigation reserve to pay for the air conditioning repair?
We took money from the contingency reserve as well as the windstorm deductible reserve, yes. And we're replenishing both of those reserves.
You said that the wind reserve was about 550,000, I think it was. What are you aiming? I just would like to know.
Well, I will tell you the minimum windstorm deductible at this point is a whopping $1,750,000. So we got a long way to go to be able to cover the deductible. We currently have $477,000 as of the end of August in the windstorm deductible reserve.
More than double, okay.
Right.
All right.
And the contingency reserve was down to $113,000. So included in that $11.11 increase in the coupon is continuing to rebuild both of these reserves that we've substantially depleted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you're up.
Okay, so we are back to the issue of the sports and release home harmless, and that not just the sports, it also includes pool use and dancing. And you had asked that Monica reach out to Phil Massey from Assured Partners.
All right, you wanna-
Okay, I'm just going to read to you the response that I received from our agent Phil Massey regarding this newly drafted sports release and hold harmless. He says, Monica, I get your questions like this a lot, and here are my thoughts. Having a hold harmless on file for a specific person is helpful in the event that person attempts to bring a claim. Assuming we can provide the hold harmless to the carrier, it is a way of applying leverage to the situation. Some claimants may decline to file a claim if they know they signed the hold harmless. Some may pull their claim when the hold harmless is provided, and some plaintiff attorneys may not take the case if they have to battle a hold harmless. With all that said, these hold harmless documents are usually not ironclad, and a bad injury or bad situation is going to likely pierce through, so that they are not a panacea. Instead, they are a tool that can help. The problem we see with these forms is actually getting them signed and then keeping them on file to be able to provide them after an injury. Ideally, however someone reports an injury, we would want to have this signed form to add to the file just in case they decide to bring a claim. That, of course, is easier said than done. I realize your team is going to be responsible for obtaining all this and keeping it on file. You have to search for the most efficient way to do this. For example, it may be that for every year or once a year, every resident has to renew their access card or something like that at the time. This is included in the paperwork they sign and then keep on file. You are likely never going to get 100% of the people, but if you can get even 50%, that will work on the margins. This is not a home run solution, and if there is not an efficient way to handle the process, it can end up being a nightmare and lead to blowback and confusion from your residents. So if you want to make sure before implementing this process that it can work seamlessly. That part I cannot help with, but I can confirm if these documents are in place prior to an injury, they can help Centerville with leveraging that claim process. I hope this helps.
That's exactly what I said.
Are you suggesting everyone sign it? Well, it would have to be, whether, if we get 50% that don't want to sign it, that means they can't be out there using the facilities, even though they're paying for it. So, and then it's a question of how do we keep this organized and current, which is a problem. We have over 3,000 people signed up at the gym, but we also know we've sold probably half the units in this village over the last 4 years, so I know that we have some cleaning out to do, and then that becomes very time consuming. So it's going to be up to the committee to make a decision, so I know which way I'm going.
I think the first place to start is when somebody comes in to get an ID, whether it's a unit owner or a renter. That's the first thing that, before they're issued an ID, they're given that form.
Yes, we can start capturing it there, but we have all the people that already live here and that we're going to have to.
I understand that. So we're going to, maybe we can advertise it, that they're gonna have to come in, have a sign up in the clubhouse 1 or 2 days a week. And if you don't sign, you may not be able to use all the rec facility.
Well, when security, walks around and their ID card does not have that little red tag,
which I showed at the last meeting,
Right,
like that,
right.
they're gonna be asked to leave. David?
Has this committee made a decision on that?
No, that's what I'm asking for is a decision, now that we have the input from the insurance company.
So do we need to vote now? Do we need to vote on it now?
Go ahead, David. I know you got thoughts.
I won't make a motion for that.
Huh? Okay. Well, what it does, it reduces our liability to a degree. And as our insurance person says, it's a good tool. It doesn't answer everything. But doing nothing guarantees nothing. Go ahead, David.
Let's put this up for a motion and a second, and then
Okay.
have a discussion,
Okay.
if that's what the committee.
Will anybody on the committee make a motion to adopt these?
Richard.
Richard?
I move that anyone using a recreational facility be obliged to sign a hold harmless form.
Thank you. Second? Sure. Richard, Stuart, you were going to second it?
Second, yes.
Absolutely, okay. So we have a motion by Richard and seconded by Stuart. Thoughts? Open discussion, go ahead.
A guest coming in for the day or a guest coming in for 2 weeks or whichever, they're gonna use the pool or the dance class or whatever, they need to sign this also.
Are you
Yes.
asking or are you saying?
Yes.
No, guests would have to sign as well. How we're gonna do that, I'm not sure,
Okay.
because we're going to, we give them a photo ID, and then they're gonna have the red decal on it. I can't tell you how many people still use it after it's expired. So, and we've never found a solution for that, except that security does a very good job collecting it every time they go to the pool areas where I'm getting more back, It's gonna be tricky, it's gonna take a lot to put this into effect, and that it's effective in the way that we do it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Richard.
Everyone has to sign, because if anyone doesn't, and someone else sees that they got in without signing, like wildfire, you have to sign, why do I have to sign?
Well, it has to catch up to itself.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to take a little bit of time. David, you had your hand up?
I really think this is going to make us a very unfriendly-like place. And I understand that you have specialty places like sailing and woodworking and fishing. I understand that, but yeah. I just think this is a bad policy. It's going to cost a lot of money to administer it.
It's not work.
And I'm just totally not in favor of it. We all come here to enjoy the facility. What's going to be the next thing? If somebody trips on the carpet going up to their seat in the auditorium,
Okay.
I can just see it mushrooming, and I think it's going to discourage people from actually living here.
Okay. Monica, how many claims have we had, liability claims this year? For 23?
Actually, I don't know. I can't answer that. I wish I would
Is
have.
it more than one?
Oh,
yeah.
sure. I mean, we get trip and fall claims on a continuous basis. But I do agree that this is gonna be difficult to police and to manage, and it's going to upset an awful lot of people. But having said that, we do have a lot of claims.
We'll be printing, we're gonna have to print lists off the ID office. We're gonna have to do it by building area. But that's obsolete by the next day, because you've got new owners, you've got new renters. So, and I also agree with David. I think that this is not gonna be taken well. That old George Orwell's 1984, Big Brother is watching, they're already upset with us for the cameras.
Joanne?
So I don't know.
Eva, I have a administrative question.
Mhm.
Have you been able, because obviously this is a very big effort. There's gonna be administrative man hours involved that, you've gotta have manpower to just simply try to do this. So you've got man hours, you're gonna have to store them somehow, whether it's on a server or, there's a storage cost.
Mhm.
There's always a storage cost.
Right.
Because it's a large volume. This isn't like a little, And then there's security. If security's gonna be doing checking to that extent, you're gonna need more security man hours, wouldn't you? I mean, they're gonna be escorting people off and discussing and doing things outside of what they do now, which is
It
they
will-
check everyone's ID and they leave.
It will slow them down considerably, and
So
I can
there's
tell
more-
you that they're gonna get much more grief and arguing on the pool deck than they ever have.
See, and I
Yes.
think that there's a cost behind it. I mean, I agree that there is a aesthetic kind of feel to it. But hard line, to Fausto's point, we're paying out a lot of money for insurance claims, and that I understand. But is the cost of taking this measure worth the reduction that Phil says will be marginal? You're not gonna get rid of every claim.
No, and
So
I
you're
mean,
gonna have some piece of a claim
mhm.
that'll be mitigated, but at what cost? And real cost, real man hours, storage, additional forces needed.
Mhm.
So
Well-
I would like to see those numbers before we do any kind of vote or
I didn't
anything.
take anything forward because I wasn't sure how the committee was going to decide, but we'd have to sit down with our IT person, we'd have to see if there's another way to get our hands on the information, but again, every day it will be outdated because we have constant new owners, new renters, so, can I give this to some of my existing staff? Absolutely.
But you're still gonna have
To go
man
through,
hours.
that's very easy to be done in the summer months when we're slower, but in season,
Yeah, what are they
we will
not
not be
gonna
able to
do?
pay the same time and attention to it. And then, so yes, you say hire more people, where am I putting them? I only have so many desks and places to put people. David?
Patricia, you go.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Ladies first.
Oh, then that's not me, okay. No, I'm kidding. I just want to mention that we had one claim on our building, 3 years ago. And it was bogus, and we could prove it was bogus, and they raised us, 35–40%? So that's a lot for one claim. So I hear you, but what you need to understand, there's been a lot of claims here. We, all the people, are paying for it.
But let's see the numbers. I mean, let's see the
If it
numbers.
stops a $100,000 claim, it's worth it.
But what, it costs
Well-
$200,000 to do it.
But it's okay, because let me go to Ruth, because Ruth had her hand up.
I was going to ask that we're doing this in any of the other Century villages. They have these programs.
No,
They don't.
Okay.
no. We have certain, just like we do here, like for sailing and for the woodworking shop, we have, understandable, hold harmless, but we don't have any type of mechanism for everyone in the other
And
communities, no.
I do think that people could possibly wrap their mind around a release and hold harmless for the tennis courts or for, but when you're just floating around in the pool, you're gonna have to sign a release and hold harmless or out on the dance floor. And we've had our incidences on the dance floor. So, but I think maybe we can take those two things off possibly and just go for the sporting activities where they're running.
Yeah, that was my original intent, but David, you had your hand up.
Actually, that's where I was gonna go too, is that, it's easy any place where we have an attendant, or a higher risk, let's take care of any of the sporting type events. Sailing, everything that you mentioned, wood shop, tennis, we've got somebody on site there and can facilitate the sign up as well as the check without really any additional. It's just huge to keep up with it, and it's going to change the character of the security people and some of your staff to police it. It's just, I like it, but I just can't
Well,
see implementing.
My original intent was for the physical activities of sports.
Yeah.
Handball, racquetball, any place where if I have a bad ankle or I go out and I fall, and now, hey, we had a lady that fell in the Publix parking lot and went to our pool, opened the door and hit herself in the head and put in a claim. I got hit in the head.
Yeah.
We didn't see her in the parking lot, but she put in a claim and she made money.
Yeah.
So it was my original idea was if you play one of the sports, that this is what it was for. When I saw the dancing and all of that, I understand that's a nice recreational activity. I personally think it's a little bit further. But on the other note, and I was gonna discuss this, but I know I'm short on time. We have people that are coming in, renters and unit owners. You have people in the ID office that issue an ID and do not remove all the cars, all the information from the previous owner. And we have unit people that come in and they have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars listed on there. And we, volunteer, not a paid person, have to sit there. Do you have a Chevy? Do you have a Ford? Do you have a Mazda? No, I don't know whose cars those are. So they have plenty of time in there. I don't think they do 35, 40, 50 IDs a day. So they could just, if they have the time to delete those people, they should have the time to be able to fill in a form for the appropriate people.
Well, like I said, we can certainly give out the form to the new owners and new renters.
Right.
But now we're talking about security, because they're not gonna I don't think they'll make it around to all the areas to be able to check everybody, so we may have to double up on that.
Okay.
There are a lot of other things. I think because we're out of time, that we bring this back again, so
Well,
that
yeah, we'll
everybody still has
discuss it.
time to
Yeah.
discuss and
I agree.
ruminate on it.
Yeah.
I can bring with me next month, the claims information.
Yeah,
That would be
Detail.
I mean, because people, David, go ahead.
Monica, one important thing that I asked for you to do is to actually go to someone that is a trip and fall lawyer, not our lawyer, someone that actually does this, and see what their opinion of this very slim usage
Okay,
would be.
I can do that.
You get an expert from the other side.
All right, then, Richard.
I withdraw my motion.
No, that's all right. We're not gonna call for a vote. There's no vote.
There's going to be no vote. I'll put it back on the agenda. I would also like to thank the committee for allowing me to move the meeting by 1 week, and to our guests in the back. You are more than welcome to be here, but you're also welcome to come to my office. I will sit down with any one of you, singly, as a group. If you have any questions, concerns, criticisms, anything, please, I'm upstairs, and you are more than welcome to come, and I will sit down with any one of you and discuss anything. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
For the next meeting, come up with a list of schemes. What activities would you recommend to hold on this forum?
Well, I don't know, and that's a good question, because, so for somebody who stands there and throws a ball like at bocce or at petanque, would we take them off the list? And do this for tennis and pickleball and racquetball? What about shuffleboard? That's a very mild, modest type, but the courts are uneven, they could turn an ankle. So, I don't know, but I would say that definitely the people floating in the pool will not take kindly to that one specifically. But again, let's think on it again, because again, we're gonna print those lists, let's say weekly, we'd have to, because they're gonna become obsolete. Could the information that's changed be printed in red so that they know that that's what they need to look at first? I don't know, that's gonna be questions for IT. I don't know that our printers could do something like that. I really have no idea. I just know that it's gonna be a monumental task. It's not that I'm unwilling to take it on, but how do we do it successfully?
Okay.
So,
We'll move it on we'll discuss it again further.
we'll put it on to the November agenda.
Yes. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I make a motion.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Do it again a week earlier.
What do you think?
So